Published 2152 EDT, the 31st of October 2017. Updated 2252 EDT, the 31st of October 2017. The FBI this week revealed new allegations of collusion with Russia which could damage President Donald Trump's administration. Already it is becoming the biggest U.S. political scandal since Watergate, and threatens to destroy Donald Trump's presidency. The FBI this week revealed explosive new allegations of Russian collusion in last year's American election as a special prosecutor charged 3 former aides to the president. If true, the claims are the clearest suggestion yet that Trump knew the Kremlin was trying to help his campaign by providing dirt on Hillary Clinton. During the election, the Russian government hacked Democratic computer accounts and released a trove of embarrassing emails related to the political machinations of his Democrat rival, which helped put him in the White House. The characters embroiled in the scandal include Trump's former presidential campaign chief, who is accused of siphoning off $75 million £56 million through an offshore account, a Maltese professor living in London said to be a link man with the Kremlin, a woman posing as a niece of Vladimir Putin and Trump's own son. As Trump scrambles to distance himself from those under suspicion, we describe the dramatis personae at the heart of the political scandal convulsing America. The London go-between George Papadopoulos, hailed as an excellent guy by Donald Trump after he hired him as a foreign policy advisor, the fresh-faced, London-based American lawyer is now cooperating with the FBI and may be the man who ultimately forces Trump out of the White House. During the election campaign, Papadopoulos repeatedly tried to arrange a meeting between Trump and the Russian government, which he was told had damaging information about Mrs. Clinton, according to FBI files. The 30-year-old, a graduate of University College London and the London School of Economics, was initially mocked for his youth and inexperience when he was named as foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign in March 2016. Former Trump campaign aide, George Papadopoulos, pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI about his Kremlin-related contacts after meeting a London-based academic named Professor Joseph Mifsud, who allegedly has close ties with the Kremlin. While traveling in Italy in mid-March 2016, Papadopoulos was introduced to a woman he wrongly believed was a niece of Russian leader Vladimir Putin. She later wrote to him, "We are all very excited by the possibility of a good relationship with Mr. Trump." Papadopoulos used his new contacts repeatedly to try to arrange a meeting between the Trump campaign and Russian government officials, according to court documents. He passed back his conversations to the Trump inner circle, outlining offers for Trump to visit Moscow. One of his bosses in the Trump campaign praised his efforts as great work. After allegations of Russian meddling in the U.S. election emerged, Papadopoulos was first interviewed by the FBI in January this year. He initially claimed that the contacts head-to-head with the Russians happened before he joined the Trump campaign. But he was arrested at Washington Dulles Airport on July 27, where he admitted the charge of lying to FBI agents about the timings, and has since been cooperating with the special prosecutor Robert Mueller. He faces 5 years in jail for perjury, which could be reduced as part of a plea deal. The White House has played down Papadopoulos as a low-level advisor on the campaign. But Mueller told the court at Papadopoulos' indictment hearing last month that he did not want the arrest made public because it would significantly undermine Papadopoulos' ability to serve as a proactive cooperator, indicating that he may have agreed to wear a wire to record conversations with some of his former colleagues. It means he may have spent the past few months secretly gathering incriminating evidence from the inner circle of Trump's campaign staff on behalf of the FBI, which could potentially bring down the administration. The Maltese Professor Joseph Mifsud told George Papadopoulos that Moscow had dirt on Hillary Clinton in the form of thousands of emails. The FBI documents claim British-based professor with close ties to Russia allegedly acted as the link between Trump's campaign and Putin's regime. Professor Mifsud told George Papadopoulos that Moscow had dirt on Hillary Clinton in the form of thousands of emails, the FBI documents claim. It is alleged that after the former Maltese government official who works at the London Academy of Diplomacy, which is affiliated to the University of Stirling in Scotland, met Papadopoulos in March 2016 while travelling in Italy, the following month, just days after Trump named Papadopoulos as one of his advisors, they met again in London. This time, it is claimed, the professor brought a Russian woman who posed as Putin's niece, and said she had connections to senior Russian government officials. Mifsud allegedly later told Papadopoulos that he had just returned from Moscow, where he had learned from high-level Russian government officials that Russia had damaging information on Mrs. Clinton. The academic has confirmed he was the London professor described in the document drawn up by special counsel Mueller, but vehemently denied any wrongdoing. He said his links with Russia were purely academic and nothing to do with the government, adding, "I have a clear conscience." The campaign boss Paul Manafort, President Trump's former campaign chief, was the most high-profile of the trio charged by the U.S. prosecutors this week. The veteran Republican strategist is accused of a money laundering conspiracy that siphoned off $75 million from pro-Kremlin political groups. The cash is said to have helped fund a lavish lifestyle, with Manafort splashing out millions on property, antiques and designer clothes. President Trump's former campaign chief Paul Manafort, pictured, was the most high-profile of the trio charged by the U.S. prosecutors this week after hiding the cash in a labyrinth of offshore accounts. It's alleged he spent $5 million to refurbish a home in the exclusive Hamptons area of New York State, and moved more than $3 million to his own accounts to pay for his children's school fees and decorate his mansion in Virginia. The FBI accused him of working for the Russia-backed Ukraine government, which was toppled in 2014, and its pro-Kremlin Party of Regions political organization between 2006 and 2015. He denies a string of charges of dodging taxes, illegally working as an unregistered agent of a foreign government, and making false statements to federal investigators, which carry a maximum sentence of 20 years. But U.S. legal commentators believe the threat of a long spell in jail could prompt him to cooperate with the investigation. Manafort previously advised the presidential campaigns of Gerald Ford, Ronald Reagan and George Bush Sr., while his Washington lobbying firm has represented corrupt dictators Ferdinand Marcos of the Philippines, and Mobutu Sese Seko of the Congo. He agreed to work without payment for Trump in March 2016 and was quickly made campaign chairman. But he was sacked 3 months later after the discovery of a ledger indicating he had received millions of dollars in secret payments from the Russian-backed Ukrainian Party of Regions. Separately, Manafort was also allegedly involved in discussions with campaign aide George Papadopoulos about setting up meetings with the Russian government during the election. Papadopoulos emailed a high-ranking Trump campaign official on May 21, 2016, with the subject line "Request from Russia to meet Mr. Trump." Manafort forwarded the email to another campaign official, stating, "We need someone to communicate that DT is not doing these trips," referring to a trip to Russia. "It should be someone low-level in the campaign so as not to send any signal." Manafort also attended a meeting with Donald Trump's son, Donald Jr., and a Russian lawyer where Russian dirt on Mrs. Clinton was allegedly discussed. The FBI first swooped on Mr. Manafort's home in Virginia in the summer, picking the lock in a pre-dawn raid amid fears he might destroy evidence if they banged on his door. Mr. Manafort this week was allowed to turn himself in and denied the charges at a Washington court, where bail was set at $10 million. He was ordered to live under house arrest. The Washington lobbyist Rick Gaddis, a long-term business partner of Paul Manafort, having met him as an intern at his Washington consultancy 25 years ago, Gates was this week arrested in the U.S. Capitol. Mr. Gates, 45, faces similar allegations of working for the Russia-backed Ukraine government. In his consultancy work he has sealed private equity deals in Russia and Eastern Europe with pro-Kremlin oligarch Oleg Deripaska, who was barred from entering the United States over allegations relating to links to organized crime. Deripaska denied the allegations. Rick Gates, 45, faces similar allegations of working for the Russia-backed Ukraine government. Gates joined Trump's campaign as a lobbyist at the same time as Manafort last year, and, even after Manafort was forced out, he remained in the inner circle and later played a key role in the president-elect's inauguration committee. He denies the allegations, and was bailed on a $5 million surety. The president's son, Donald Trump Jr., the hapless oldest son of the U.S. president, has also been dragged into the growing scandal over the Trump campaign's links to Russia. Trump Jr. joined the Republican campaign manager Paul Manafort in a meeting with a female Russian lawyer in 2016 to discuss dirt they had on Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump Jr. asked his brother-in-law Jared Kushner, who is married to Ivanka Trump, and Manafort to attend a sit-down meeting with Natalia Veselnitskaya. Donald Trump Jr., pictured left with his wife Vanessa Hayden Trump and their daughter, asked his brother-in-law Jared Kushner, who is married to Ivanka Trump, and Manafort to attend a sit-down meeting with Natalia Veselnitskaya. Trump Jr. tried for months to deny the existence of last summer's 30-minute meeting on the 25th floor of the Trump Tower in New York. But after a newspaper investigation, he was forced to reveal an email chain setting up the meeting, in which he declared, "I love it," after being told that Russians had documents that would incriminate Hillary in her dealings with Russia, and would be very useful to your father, the power behind the throne. Jared Kushner, the multimillionaire husband of Donald Trump's daughter Ivanka, has quickly risen to be the president's most trusted aide, despite complaints of nepotism. Kushner, 36, admits attending the meeting last year with Donald Trump Jr. and the Kremlin-linked lawyer, but said he had no idea it had been arranged in the hope of gaining political leverage over Mrs. Clinton. He also insisted he had been too busy during the election campaign to read an email exchange Donald Trump Jr. had sent him that made clear the Russian government wanted to pass on incriminating evidence against Mrs. Clinton to help secure a Trump victory. Jared Kushner, 36, admits attending the meeting last year with Donald Trump Jr. and the Kremlin-linked lawyer, but said he had no idea it had been arranged in the hope of gaining political leverage over Mrs. Clinton. Realizing the meeting was a waste of time, he claimed, he emailed his assistant to ring him to give him an excuse to leave. But, disturbingly, he also admitted he had contact with the Russians 4 times during the election campaign and the transition period before Mr. Trump took office, including meetings with Russia's U.S. Ambassador Sergei Kislyak and Russian banker Sergei Gorkov, a close friend of Putin. This includes a December 2016 meeting, where it's claimed he discussed setting up a secret back channel with Moscow. He strenuously denies discussing anything improper with Russian officials, and insisted he wasn't guilty of any collusion. But investigators want to know exactly why he failed to disclose these meetings initially. The long arm of the law. Robert Mueller. Former Marine Robert Mueller was appointed special counsel for the Russia investigation in May. The nonsense operator has previously prosecuted crime bosses, foiled terror attacks and faced earlier presidents. The Vietnam veteran took over as FBI director the week before the September 11 attacks and spent the next 12 years transforming the agency into a battle-hardened, terrorism-fighting force. Former Marine Robert Mueller was appointed special counsel for the Russia investigation in May. He served mainly under George W. Bush but was so well respected on all sides of the political divide that he was asked to stay on by Barack Obama when he took office. As a federal prosecutor and later head of the Justice Department's Criminal Division, he oversaw high-profile prosecutions against such targets as Panamanian dictator Manuel Noriega and New York crime boss John Gotti. Now, he's pursuing a case that is already proving to be the biggest of his career. Footnote: the Democrats are far from clean in all this. Hillary Clinton's campaign is also alleged to have funded a sleazy dossier by a former British spy into Donald Trump's alleged links with Russia. The 35-page report compiled by ex-MI6 officer Christopher Steele, which was leaked in January, claimed the U.S. president had been cavorting with prostitutes in Moscow in 2013. The funding arrangement for the research was brokered by Mark Elias, a lawyer for the Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee. It emerged last week.